the forecast had said we would have 10 knots on the beam. Right now I'm not feeling them. I just pulled up the main on the first reef just to have some stabilization for sea state, but there isn't really any anyways. And in case wind comes up that we can rock and roll, but right now it doesn't look like much happening, but we'll see. Usually in the afternoon it picks up a little bit. Let's see if we can sail a little. Well, there is a little bit of wind. We're not 100% on course, but I'm trying to sail. Maybe half an hour. You probably wonder why I'm often sailing with a reef in my main. Especially well, I do it when I'm motor sailing, so the sail stabilizes and it doesn't flop so much. But also when I'm sailing in these areas, especially here, there can be very sudden, very gnarly storms, and I just feel safer like it. As in, you know, the main is always the thing you have to walk up to the mast. It's what takes longest to reef. The furlough is like really easy to take in. But if the main already has one reef, and then I can take in the furlough and then reduce the main a little bit more because it's fairly small. It's only 24 square meters. It just gives me a lot more calmness. I feel a lot safer having the reef in. And yes, of course I do go slower, and if I know that the conditions are really good, then I do take the reef out. But in this area, I've had so many friends being hit by really extreme storms that I don't know, I'm just a chicken. Just a chicken. Why risk it? That's what I'm thinking, especially because I'm by myself. If I had crew, I would probably shake the reef out. But I don't, so I won't. Right. Plus, I have like 10 knots apparent wind, 60 degrees. And I'm doing 3.9 knots. Well, between 3 and 3.5. But sometimes 3.9. With a reef in the main. So that's really not so shabby. And I think the wind is going to freshen up anyways. Paul is nearly there because I think he's using his underwater genoa, or his iron genoa. But I just thought it would be nice to at least sail a little bit and switch the engine off and enjoy the silence and sail. Because this is a sailboat after all, and I've already done way too much motoring, so it's nice. Looks like we have about 5 meters at high tide. So I have a lot of room, so I'm going to put out 40 meters. Just because I can. I'm at 30 right now. So I'm going to lower another 10. The wind seems to be coming from the south. So we're nicely protected here behind the land. I have a long ways to be blown out in case something happens. It's a lot of beach in this bay, and some pretty lovely But it looks like quite the way to paddle in, especially with the wind. Alrighty, we're there. Like pretty far offshore because it seems that the tide comes out quite a bit, so it's fairly flat. Now I have to stop autopilot, clear my sheets, put the sail cover on, put the snubber on, tie up the tiller, switch off my instruments, and have an anchor beer. Thanks, world. Poor Paul. He's got a long way to go. I invited Paul over for dinner for tonight, so I gotta think what to make. And I was thinking of making some enchiladas, but not the regular type because I don't have any meat, so I'm gonna do them with it's like a soy meat substitute thing and some cabbage, I think. Maybe some beanish stuff too. And then I hope I still have some flour tortillas because I don't feel making any from scratch. And then making a nice enchilada sauce. I think I still have some cheese. Yeah, I think that could be something good to make. What do you think? So to give you an idea of what it's like when you're invited over for dinner on Karl, well, Paul is usually early and I'm usually late. Doesn't matter if we're cooking on his boat or on my boat, I'm usually always arriving late and he's always arriving early. So I was still jamming my music, preparing the food, whatever, and Paul's already arriving with little Luca, and I'm like, oh my god, I haven't even had a shower yet. So Paul was busy with the little doggies whilst I had to freshen up a little bit. And the enchiladas are in the oven. And I hope they're gonna be good. I don't know. You worried?
Me worried? I'm never worried when you cook, Nike. It was always super, super good. So, no. Gracias.
Nada.
I love the gorgonzola put on there.
There's not really gorgonzola on it, but the cheese that I had was a little bit off, so I had a taste of gorgonzola. So maybe I messed up the whole meal, but
No, it's really, really good. Really good.
you're just saying that because you're a friend.
No.
Der Haarung sprach, du bist verrückt, 2, 3, 4, da, da, tiralala, du bist mir viel zu platt gedrückt, 2, 3, 4, da, da, tiralala, und mir den Bogen runter, dolle Flunder, und mir den Bogen runter, dolle Flunder.
Der ist hier bei mir. ¿Está arreglándolo o hubo un hueco?
Haciendo un pegue, estamos aquí ya sellando.
¿Dónde lo aprendió a hacerlo? ¿De su papá?
Sí, mi papá.
Unfortunately, we only had a short stopover day in Bahia Tamarindo. We would have loved to explore a bit more, but we had to pick up anchor before dawn the next day. It looks like this season it's a lot of early starts. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. Just picked up anchor here in Tamarindo, just on the outskirts of Golfo de Fonseca, and heading to Jiquilisco. I gotta keep a good lookout because there's lots of fisher boats here, and then there's gonna be quite the challenge going into Jiquilisco, which is like an estuary, but I'll tell you about that later when it's a little lighter. For now, task is not to run into any fishing nets. I find that picking up anchor when it's still dark is a lot different than sailing into the night. I think it's just because when you sail into the night, your senses sort of have this time where they're slowly getting used to the light getting less, and you're sort of prepping yourself and you have your bearings. Now, whereas if you start something from dark, it's sort of harder to get your bearings, I find. It takes me a while. I do rely in the beginning more on my GPS rather than, you know, my general orientation sense. So it's very different. I'd say it's harder. Right now we're just cruising around a little nook here. There's fishermen out there, but I think we're gonna leave them to our port. Slightly starting to turn, and I can already see a little bit of sky lightening up there behind us. There's a lightning storm right ahead of us, of course, but I think it's quite far out. And soon it's gonna be time for a coffee. Boga came out here as soon as I started lifting the anchor, because when she's sleeping up in the front and I take up the anchor, it's very loud. So she comes out and she's snoozing here. She's quite the sleepyhead in the morning. And I just put the life jacket on her and I tied her up. So we're both tied up, so hopefully no one's gonna leave the boat unless it sinks. Watching the sunrise at sea is always a profound moment of connecting with the elements. I find myself immersed in the symphony of senses, soaking in the changing colors in the sky and feeling the gentle touch of the wind on my face, listening to the rhythmic melody of waves playfully tapping the hull of my sailboat. In this quietude of the morning, I prepare for the challenges that lay ahead, knowing that beyond this tranquility lies the daunting entry to the Jiquilisco estuary, where wild breaking waves await. But more about that next week.